6 years old when I was insulted. Not just right in front of 2 or 3 people, but in front of 100 plus people. I remember there was an event which was hosted by MTV's Roadies, and that too in one of the very reputed malls out here in Faridabad called Crown Plaza. Since my childhood days, I have always been excited to go on stage, and I feel stage is my happy place. So I remember going on to my happy place, which is my stage, and that's where I got to introduce myself. How can you imagine a 6 years old girl introducing herself? Not right now, 25 years back, when we didn't have like that quality education. English speaking was not that skill that was needed, or I would say not that skill that was well taught or well learnt by students. That was a time when I was called on stage and I was insulted right in front of 100 people. Well, I'll tell you why I was insulted. So they'd asked me to introduce myself, and being confident was something that I used to always keep in my mind. And I don't know, but my mother usually tells me that, you love speaking in English no matter whether you were saying it wrong or right. You always had that flair to speak in English. And yes, I had that. I was on the stage and the anchor of that particular show asked me to introduce myself. So I was very excited and I said, hey, my name is Shivangi and I'm so-and-so. And there was a sentence which I said, hey, I love to drink Santra's juice. Now I'll tell you the story behind the Santra's juice. So the story takes me back to the Santra juice wherein I was not getting the word orange, but I was so confident that I don't want to put myself in a place where I wanted to stop. And that's when I continued half of my speech in English and half in Hindi. I still remember that entire scene right in front of my eyes. And whenever I talk about English speaking, I always bring this instance, guys. I've never been blessed to have a coach or a mentor in my life who taught me English speaking. But it was that very day when I realized that Shivangi, I was a young girl, okay? I was a very young girl and I had that flair. My parents couldn't support me because they were busy, I wouldn't have complaints. But yeah, they were busy, as you know that today's generation or maybe today's day and time requires both the parents to be working, and similarly my parents invested in good education according to whatever they could do, and I'm extremely happy about it. So I remember that was a day that I couldn't forget in my life, and that makes me go back and realize who I was and who I am today. And it's all because of that one zeal, one piece of enthusiasm that I used to carry. And it was just that even if I'm speaking it wrong or right, my mantra in life is always to suggest people that you need to talk. And if you want to learn English, guys, you have to understand that it's important to talk in English. Forget about you being right or wrong. Forget about tenses coming right or wrong. I am, I was, you were, he were, I were. Whatsoever you are doing, you have to talk. And if you are not able to talk, that's the biggest failure. If you have those self-limiting beliefs that are going to stop you every single day, that you don't know grammar, you don't know this, you don't know that, just keep trying. I know there are going to be people, imagine that 6 years girl standing right in front of that massive crowd and they started laughing, I was a 6-year-old girl and I couldn't make out the difference between whether they were happy for me or they were insulting, but I remember that everybody started laughing. Maybe because I was very young, maybe 5 or 6 years old. So I couldn't really take that as a mere piece of insult or as a mere piece of inspiration for others. But I literally saw people, I wouldn't say mocking about me, but there was a laughter. And that particular laughter was set right here. When I got down the stage, then my mother told me that, it's not Santra, it's orange. How can you forget it? I said, I just missed it for a while. And it so happens that most of the time we don't get the right words, we don't get the right grammar, we don't get X, Y, Z. There will always be excuses. But believe me, nobody in this world wants you to be great. The journey from good to great is you. You're going to decide that. So in this particular video, guys, I'm going to talk about those 5 simple steps that I follow to become an English language coach today. I'm not boasting about myself, but I'm going to give you those real-time facts, as I don't believe in heavy loaded or non-practical ways of learning a language. When I talk to people, I always say that you have to follow these 5 things and you're done with it. So hi, my name is Shivangi Narula, your communication coach, your skills coach, and people would know me with a lot of different things: content writer, content creator, IELTS trainer, this and that. But don't worry, I am your skills coach, and that's where I want to let you know about all those 5 steps that I have been following ever since I was a young girl. Let's check this out. Alright, so everybody talks about finding an English speaking partner, right? Now the question is, where will I get it? Do we get it in the market? Well, the technology has evolved and you might get it. But I don't want to go with those heavy ways of investing in a native English speaker to learn English. No, guys. There are so many opportunities right there in your surroundings that you can go and find out and you can learn your English. Now, the question is, what did I do? So, as you know, I'm very crazy about speaking and talking. You would have seen me talking on Instagram, LinkedIn, here and there, because I love it. So, English speaking needs to have that passion. You can't learn it without passion. If you really want to show that, boss, I will speak good English. And when I say good, I don't just want it to be good, I want this to be great. Now, when I was not that great at speaking English, at teaching English, I was constantly evolving. And what was it? And how was I doing? How did I really find out these ways to learn English? So as I told you that we need to find English speaking partners. Now, where do I go and get them? So let's say I go to McD. Let's say I got a delivery from maybe a call from a delivery agent from Nike or Amazon, right? Now this could be somebody you are meeting outside. There's always an easy way that we guys can talk in English. What if I tell you that you kickstart the conversation in English? The other party will also get a chance to speak with you. There are times when you might say that, Shivangi, maybe that other person don't understand English and if I talk about it, no, you shouldn't do that. Your case is not to embarrass them. Your case is to make and find opportunities for yourself. If you don't have it, you find them. If you don't find them, you make them, is what I believe. So I'll tell you, as a kid, I used to always be very crazy and I used to go to McD. I used to order it, okay? Second, if I'm going to a shopping mall, I will always find space to talk to those, salesmen who are there in the, any of the shops, right? Then we go to so many places now. When I was young, we had very limited options. I'm not saying like I'm super old, but yeah, there were times when the world was not that evolved. I am not a Gen Z kid. I am a little before that. So now the question is, you have to find people who can speak to you in English. Not that you're going to say, hey, please talk to me in English. No, that's not going to be the case. The case is going to be simple, that you're going to see a person and go like, okay, let me strike the conversation. Now, I'll tell you what I do now. Even if I don't find people as my prospective clients, I still find a reason to talk to them on LinkedIn, right? If I meet anybody in Starbucks, I'm very open to kickstart that conversation. I have no problem. Okay, if I'm overhearing somebody's conversation, which is not really a good thing, but something that's coming to my ears, I cannot stop it. And I just kind of pass a nice, decent smile. And then this gives me a reason to kickstart conversations. So number one is to find or create your speaking partners. Number one, right? Number two is that you don't have to think, you don't have to overthink that you are not good at it. People would continue to judge you. People would continue to probably, make you feel that you are not that great. I'm telling you, there are going to be a hell lot of things that are going to happen in your surroundings, but you have to be so rigid about it that you would always find these opportunities. Now, the second thing that I always follow, guys, is that it's not always about finding a partner. It's also about learning and reflecting. So once I got the partner, the second is, how am I improving? I'll give you an example. So I wouldn't say as a kid, but even as an adult, I've seen people making this mistake, which is like people use ed or second form of the tense with the word called did. I did not knew it, which is wrong. Now, while I was talking to people, or while I still talk to people, I always make sure that maybe after that conversation that I have had with anybody, I give 2 minutes of my conversation's analysis time to myself. I will always ensure, if I'm speaking to you right now, after this video ends, I'm going to make sure I sit back for 2 long minutes and I realize that, okay, did I make any mistakes? Maybe I would have made some kind of a grammar mistake, maybe a tense mistake, a vocabulary mistake, or maybe I would have fumbled. You have to find out your own things that were not really great in that conversation. And then you have to find out how would you do it. So I'll tell you, while I started finding conversation partners, I was speaking so much. And then one fine day I realized that where am I improving? Now I am being a chatterbox, right? My conversations were not about talking. Now my conversations have to be more onto a ground where people start accepting, respecting me. And that's where this talking converted into communication, right? It all starts with the normal talking. And then eventually, once you are a talker, then you become a great communicator. And then finally, people start admiring you, they learn from you, so you have to reflect back, okay? Now, when I reflected, I got to understand, I had this learning that Shivangi, you speak so fast. Even today, I speak so fast, but I always try to maintain that pace. So every time I am speaking, I know 2-3 things that I always make mistakes, even as a trainer, even as an adult. So the moment I am more conscious about these mistakes, I will not repeat them, right? And that is the second step of improvement that you need to find. Now, the third thing that I will always talk about is that whenever you find somebody criticizing, whenever somebody is coming back to you with anything, let that be insult, let that be a piece of feedback, let that be criticism, let that be anything negative, everything needs to be accepted while you are in the phase of being a great listener, while you are on the phase of being a great communicator. See, until we perfect any art, we are always a learner. And I believe that perfection is myth, hence you always need to be a learner. I never say that you should not question, but if somebody is coming up with anything, criticism, negative comments, whatever it is, the first step is that you need to accept it. You need to accept with an intent that they are doing this to help me. Now, will this mean that I'm going to accept every negative thing that comes my way? Every negative thing that comes your way is not negative. First of all, you have to train your brain that this is always constructive. The way that person is communicating that to you can be negative, which you should definitely talk. If somebody comes to me and say, hey Shivagi, this is very bad, I'm like, I accept what you say, but I would really want you to be a little mindful of your tone. It sounds a little defensive. I take this as a good feedback or as a constructive feedback from your end, but your tone can get a little better. It's absolutely okay to be assertive, but it's at the same time, it's important to receive feedback because it's the breakfast for a champion. So while you are in the phase of learning English, you have to accept criticism. You have to accept negative comments. You have to start accepting them and you have to treat them as a part of your growth. Now there has to be one USP. Now, step 4 of being a great communicator or a great English language speaker would be that you have to find your one USP that you carry as a speaker. Now, while I was very young, but when I started my journey as a trainer, so I have an interesting story which I'll talk in some other video, but then when I started my journey as a trainer, I remember I used to always find out flaws in myself. So I'm like, you make so many grammar mistakes, people would someday spot them, learners will come back. So I had that feeling of always telling myself that you're not good at it, okay? And that was because I was always trying to tell myself that you need to learn, you need to evolve, which is good. However, you have to find that one USP. Over a period of time, I started seeing other people around me. I started finding people. I started looking at them. I started finding out some positive things to take from everybody. And while I was observing things and people around me, I realized that my accent is my USP. My energy is my USP. And I know that these two things can stand out so well that I don't need any other thing. Okay, making mistakes, absolutely okay. I have publicly, made a lot of mistakes on my LinkedIn post, and I have talked about it that let's be perfectly imperfect. It's okay. Find that one skill of yours within that communication, within your English language that stands out to be your USP. This could be your clarity of speech. This could be your tonality. This could be your grammar. This could be your vocabulary, anything. I still have a friend and she's also a trainer. And whenever I look at her, she has amazing vocabulary. Her lexicons are like amazing. I admire them. And then I used to think that, there's something missing out there. So again, you can't have everything in everyone, yeah? So I don't have that great vocabulary because I always believe in being very simple, transparent, and to ensure that I'm more communicative. My approach to life has been this. However, her approach was to learn more new words, add them into your speech, make your speech look a little more fancy, which is okay. Not a problem at all. The idea of this particular point is that I never want you to always talk about your weekend. Okay, fine. My grammar was not that great because I felt that I didn't learn much in my school days. So I had to invent steps and methodologies for my brain to understand grammar. I used to perform bullshit in grammar in my school days. Those submissions, omissions and errors, I used to always fumble with them. And when I started training, I thought of reinventing those concepts so that as a trainer, first I understand and then I'm able to understand my people and then I'm able to understand how to put those questions and answers for them. So remember to find out your USP. And fifth one, guys, would be to do one activity. This could be reading books. This could be watching web series. This could be listening to music. This could be listening to people around you. But you have to do one thing. I don't watch movies. I never watched English movies ever. I don't like them. Reading books, as a young girl, I never had that habit. Eventually, while I've grown up, I still find time to read only those things that really add a lot of value to what I do. I'm very particular about the kind of content I'm consuming. Again, we all have different mindsets, so it's pretty okay. So you have to follow any of these 4 things. Now, I am a person who tries to listen to people, okay? And I try to pick up certain things from there. Watching, reading, writing, listening to people, anything will work. All you have to do is, you have to give your brain something to absorb. When your brain absorbs that content, you need to sit back and reflect. I'll give you an example. Now, somebody uses a good word in front of me, and if I see that word is great, and if it is easy for me to fit into my vocabulary, I catch that immediately. If I find somebody having a great approach of explanation, I pick that up. So my way of learning is by looking at people right in front of me. I wouldn't be that patient enough to wait for the climax to happen in a movie because I'm a person who's more extrovert in nature. Understand your personality and inculcate that one habit that can be your way of continuously learning. So these are top 5 ways or top 5 things that I have been doing as a professional, as a learner, as a coach ever since I wanted to learn English language. So I hope you all enjoyed it, and to be honest, before I rest this video, I want to let you know all that this video had no script. This is all coming directly from my heart. Use them and do tell me if you think they were helpful. Until then, please sign up and subscribe, like, comment and share. This is my first video and I would need a lot of support of yours. Happy learning!